Okay, in part 4 we're going to learn the range function. So I'm going to open up that same tutorial 4 Excel file that we've been using. And before we move on, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup because I want my videos to match the worksheets and for you to easily be able to find the different work that we've been doing. So I'm going to rename sheet 1, which is what we've been working on here for the last one, where we had a name and a favorite number. And then part 1 we had hello world. So I'm going to rename this to video 1 hello world, and then I'm going to create hello world in as it was originally done. So let's go out, and this will practice starting a sub from scratch again. So I'm going to go out to Visual Basic, and I'm going to type sub video 1, and it's just going to have a message box that says hello world. And I'm going to rename hello world as video 2. And I'll, for consistency, I'll get a button for video 1. I'll try to put descriptive text on the Now this one we've renamed the name of the sub, so I have to go out and I'm right clicking, not where the text is, but where the assigned macro is, and it used to be hello world, so I have to update it with video 2. So I'm going to call this, well, I'm going to call it video 3. I'm going to rename it yet again because video 2 was our overview. So I'm going to call this video 3 message box, input box. And I'll have to go out yet again and assign the macro to video 3. Okay, so that's enough housekeeping. So now I'm going to start a new worksheet, and I'm going to call it video for range. And now I'm going to go to VBA, so I'm hovering down in my Excel button, going over to the VBA screen, and I'm going to copy and paste video 3. And I'm going to name it video 4. Now, in video 2, where we had the dog recommendation, you're kind of limited by yes or no questions, or the restaurant recommendation. So we couldn't ask them the variety of things that we wanted because we had to frame everything in a yes/no question. So we learned last time how we could have an input box that would be a little more flexible. Another thing we can do is read or write data to the screen. So I'm going to replace the input boxes. Instead of getting them in pop-up windows, I'm going to read the names from the screen. So I'm going to go over to Excel and I'm going to do some setup in the worksheet. So I'm going to type, what is your name, over in column A1, and what is your favorite number, over in column A2, and then I'll give them some space in B1 and B2 to type their answers. So do a little bit of formatting. And I'm going to put Michael Jordan as the name and 23 is the number. So now I'm going to modify the code, and instead of getting these inputs from a input box, I'm going to read them from the worksheet. And I'm also going to go ahead and add my button. And it'll be attached to video 4. Okay, so I'm naming the button, what is your name? I should say what is your name and favorite number, but read from ranges. So we're going to read the input from B1 and B2 in the code. So Michael Jordan is in B1, the favorite number is in B2. And now I'm going to go back to my code and where it says input name, I'm going to set that equal to a range in the worksheet. And the syntax here is very important. So it's range and then an open parentheses and a quote, B1, and then I can copy that range B1, right clicking and copying, and I'm going to select and paste what I had in the second line of code, but I'm going to change the range to B2. So now this code is going to work exactly as it did before, but rather than having pop-up boxes with prompts that ask what's your name and hello, what's your favorite number, it's going to read those inputs from the worksheet. So let's run it and make sure it works. And it says Michael Jordan, your favorite number is 23. And we could clean up the English there a little bit if we want to put in a period or a comma. And if we wanted to, we could add a period at the end by having another concatenation and a quote with a period. So let's run this again and see how it looks. And it looks a little bit better with the comma and the period at the end. We could change the values. Michael Jordan briefly changed his number to 45 after playing baseball. And we could change to Magic Johnson. I believe he was 32. And you see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and save since we've done a little bit of work. Now instead of, I'm going to modify this a little bit. I'm going to make a copy of this and paste it below. So I right-clicked and copied, right-clicked and paste. And I'm going to call this 4B. And now rather than have a message box output, I'm going to have a range as my output. So let me put in a new button here to run part B. And I'm going to put read name and number from B1 and B2, write results to, let's put it down in B8. So down here in B8, doing just a little bit of formatting, I'm going to write, instead of the message box, I'm going to have range B8 equal to that concatenated message that we were forming. So now instead of message box, input name, and so forth, I'm going to copy this range B2 and paste it here. But this time we have to put an equal sign, and I have to change the 2 to an 8. So we're setting the value of range B8 equal to this combination. So now when I run it, it reads the data from B1 and B2, concatenates, and puts it in B8. Let's do a couple more examples. I'm just going to put a couple headings here, number, and twice that number in order to do a couple of examples here. Let's do a little bit of formatting. And so now I'm going to write a program that reads these numbers. I'm right-clicking and moving this up a little bit to get it out of the way. So now I'm going to read these numbers and multiply them by 2 just to show another program. And I'm going to call this video 4C. So I'll start this one from scratch. I'm going to call it sub video 4C. And I have to do the open and close parentheses. And we don't really need to have variable names necessarily. So I'm just going to set range B14 equal to range A14 times 2. So we're going to have it be flexible. So range B14, need to have a quote there, is equal to range A14 times 2. So just showing that you can have equations in here. So I'm going to copy this 2 times, and then I'm going to change the 14 to 15 and the 14 to 16 so that I do all 3 rows. And I'll add my input button. And I'm just going to call it double a 14 to 16. And when I run it, I get double the number. I can put anything I want in those numbers, and it will still double it. If there's not a number, it's going to have a problem. See, I get a runtime error. It says type mismatch because it doesn't know how to multiply something that's text. So I get this, what we call a crash. So I can fix it by putting a valid number in and running it again. Okay, so that's the range command, and the range is similar to input box and message box, but it writes the data to a specific part of the spreadsheet. Later on, we're going to learn another command called cells that is a little bit more flexible than the range.